What if I told you the biggest myth about aging isn't about your bones, your memory, or even your heart, but about your desire? Dr. Rita Sharma, a respected urologist with more than 20 years in practice, leaned back in her chair one afternoon when a 74-year-old patient, Mr. Raman, finally asked the question that had weighed on him for decades. "Doctor, at my age, is it still okay to touch myself?" The room went quiet. His blood pressure was fine, his cholesterol was stable, but his eyes gave away something deeper: fear, shame, and maybe even grief. Dr. Rita smiled gently. The mistake older men make is thinking sexual pleasure has an expiration date. And with that, she began revealing what she called the masturbation secrets old men wish they knew sooner. Secrets not about indulgence, but about survival, of health, of intimacy, and of dignity. For decades, men past 60 have been quietly surrendering their sexual selves, some because they lost a partner, others because intimacy at home faded, and many because culture whispered that desire and old age simply don't belong together. But here's the cruel irony. When you stop touching yourself, you stop communicating with your own body, and when that conversation ends, your body stops responding. Erections weaken, desire fades, and a part of you, an intimate human part, goes silent. Dr. Rita saw it every week in her clinic. Men who shuffled into her office with strong hearts and clean arteries, but looked defeated. Their shame made them believe that aging meant silence in the bedroom. Yet the truth was different. Giving up intimacy wasn't natural. It was learned. And what's learned can be unlearned. Dr. Rita compared it to yoga. Not the flashy headstands, but the gentle daily stretches that keep you limber. Self-stimulation in older men works the same way. It increases blood flow, oxygenates tissue, and keeps the muscles of intimacy alive. Without it, fibrosis can creep in, hardening of tissue that robs men of function. But it's not just physical. When a man touches himself, dopamine rises, lifting mood. Oxytocin flows, easing loneliness. That private moment becomes less about lust and more about healing. A walk for the body, a stretch for the soul. Think of it as preventive medicine. A ritual that keeps the spark glowing even when the world says it should have gone dark years ago. One of the hardest truths older men face is this: things are different now. Erections may take longer to appear. Orgasms may feel less explosive. Recovery time stretches from minutes into hours, sometimes even days. For many, that change feels like failure, and frustration makes them give up entirely. But Dr. Rita's advice was simple. Stop racing to the finish line. At this stage of life, intimacy is no longer a sprint. It's a journey. And that journey can be richer if you accept the new rhythm. Her practical tips were surprisingly simple. Take more time. Slow, patient touch invites the body to respond. Explore other zones, the perineum, inner thighs, chest, even the face. These areas awaken arousal in ways men often forget. Use lubrication. Aging skin grows drier, and friction that once went unnoticed can now cause discomfort. And experiment. A warm bath improves blood flow. Lying on the side relieves pressure, and different positions can renew excitement. Think of it as learning a new instrument, she told Mr. Raman. You played music your whole life, but now it's time to explore new notes. Accepting the change doesn't mean giving up. It means evolving. Here's something most men don't realize. Your prostate actually benefits from regular release. Ejaculation helps flush out fluids that would otherwise sit stagnant, contributing to discomfort or inflammation. For men with mild benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, the swelling that makes urination slow and frustrating, regular release can sometimes ease that congested, heavy feeling. It sits like flushing the plumbing, Dr. Rita said with a wry smile, keeps things flowing smoothly. The science backs her up. When arousal brings fresh blood into the prostate, oxygen levels rise and waste products clear. The gland is less likely to become irritated, less likely to swell. Regular activity even reduces the risk of certain complications later in life. For older men, it's not about chasing frequency or performance. It's about rhythm. A steady pattern of sexual release keeps the prostate healthier, the bladder more comfortable, and the body better balanced. Dr. Rita reminded her patients that just as walking a few minutes a day protects your heart, self-pleasure can protect your prostate. Mr. Rahman raised his eyebrows at that. For years he had thought abstinence was discipline. Now he realized that silence was the greater risk. Pleasure wasn't an indulgence, it was maintenance. For many men in their 60s, 70s, or 80s, the loss of intimacy is about much more than desire. It's about loneliness. After losing a partner or living in a marriage where physical closeness has quietly disappeared, men often carry silence into their own bodies. They stop touching altogether, not only their partners, but themselves. Dr. Rita gently reframed this. Self-pleasure is not just about release, she told her patients. It's about connection. A hand on the chest, a stroke across the face, a gentle caress of the thighs. These gestures remind the body it is still alive, still worthy of touch. She even suggested combining sexual touch with simple acts of self-compassion, stroking the arms as though comforting yourself, running fingers over your chest as though offering reassurance, turning pleasure into a ritual of kindness rather than shame. For men like Mr. Rahman, this perspective was powerful. It meant self-touch wasn't selfish, it was survival. It was a reminder that loneliness doesn't have to mean emptiness, that intimacy, even in solitude, can still be healing. Because, in the end, touch is a language, and if no one else speaks it to you, you can and must speak it to yourself. The greatest danger, Dr. Rita warned, is not in continuing intimacy, it's in stopping altogether. When men give up sexual activity, the decline can be dramatic. Erections weaken or vanish, testosterone dips, dragging mood, energy, and even memory down with it. Muscles lose strength, bones become more fragile, and the emotional withdrawal accelerates physical aging. It's steps like parking a car in the garage and never starting it again, she explained. The battery drains, the tires stiffen, the engine rusts. For decades, Mr. Rahman had thought he was protecting his dignity by withdrawing. But what he was really doing was speeding up the very decline he feared. Sexual activity wasn't just indulgence, it was preventive maintenance. The body remembers decades of intimacy. Stopping suddenly tells it to shut down a whole system it was designed to keep alive, and once that system collapses, rebuilding becomes nearly impossible. Dr. Rita's message was firm. Don't let shame silence your body. Continuing the practice, even gently, preserves vitality. Quitting entirely almost always backfires. For many older men, the weight isn't just physical, it's spiritual or cultural. Decades of upbringing convinced them that self-pleasure was sinful, shameful, or somehow proof of weakness. Dr. Rita never dismissed those beliefs. She listened, she acknowledged the guilt, but then she reframed it. Too much of anything can harm you, she said, but balance is the real virtue. When approached with mindfulness, self-touch is not an act of selfishness, but one of self-care. It is no different than taking a walk to protect your heart or stretching to loosen your joints. The real danger isn't the act itself, it's the shame that corrodes confidence, steals peace of mind, and pushes men into silent suffering. Guilt keeps men stuck in the shadows, while the act itself, done in moderation, can actually extend their vitality. Mr. Rahman admitted he had always associated the practice with secrecy and embarrassment. Now, hearing it spoken of in the open through a medical lens, he felt the chains loosen. For the first time, he could see it not as a flaw in his character, but as a part of his health. Dr. Rita wasn't one to leave her patients with theory alone. She gave them a blueprint, small habits to make the experience healthier, safer, and more enjoyable. First, stay hydrated. Blood flow is the lifeline of intimacy, and dehydration makes everything harder. Second, warm up. A short walk, a few stretches, or even a warm shower can prime the body for better circulation. Third, set the scene. Privacy, soft lighting, or simply creating a relaxed environment signals to the body that it's safe to respond. Fourth, take your time. Rushing strains both the mind and body. Let arousal rise slowly like a tide instead of a wave. And finally, listen to your body. If there's pain, stop. If there's fatigue, rest. Self-pleasure at this stage of life is not about chasing performance. It's about nurturing health. With these adjustments, men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s could reclaim not just function, but joy. Dr. Rita often reminded her patients, this isn't SEP a race, it's SEP's a ritual. When Dr. Rita finished explaining, Mr. Rahman sat quietly, his shoulders a little straighter than before. His voice trembled as he said, "Doctor, if I had known this in my 60s, I wouldn't have spent so many lonely years thinking something was wrong with me." She smiled warmly. "Your body hasn't abandoned you. It's been waiting for you to listen." Those words landed like a spark in the dim room. For decades, he had believed his body was betraying him, when in truth, it was simply waiting for permission to be touched, to be cared for, to be alive again. Dr. Rita leaned forward. Pleasure is not the property of the young. It is a language your body speaks for as long as you live. The day you stop listening is the day you start aging for real. For Mr. Rahman, that conversation wasn't just medical advice. It was liberation, proof that it wasn't too late, proof that life could still hold connection, vitality, and intimacy even in solitude. The secrets Dr. Rita shared weren't really secrets at all. They were truths hidden by stigma, myths, and silence. That self-touch is not shame but self-care, that it keeps blood flowing, hormones balanced, and the spirit alive, that it prevents decline rather than accelerates it. And most of all, that intimacy does not vanish with age unless you let it. So, if you are listening now, remember, your body is still yours. It still speaks, and it deserves to be heard. Mr. Rahman left that day lighter than he had arrived, not because of a prescription, but because of permission. The permission to reclaim a part of himself he thought was gone forever. And maybe that's the message for every man over 60. Your story isn't over. The spark isn't gone. The wisdom of age isn't about giving up. It's about rediscovering what you thought you'd lost. So, take Dr. Rita's advice. Keep the connection alive and never forget, pleasure, intimacy, and vitality belong to you at every age. If this lesson moved you, don't let it stop here. Hit that subscribe button and join us on a journey into the timeless wisdom of the older generation. Because the best years aren't behind you, they're waiting for you to claim them.